It's Rich with Richbound Photography, Sacramento, California. And it's been a busy season for me with the workshops and with the podcasts and all. But I'm going to start trying to get some videos out there. I know I keep saying it, but I'm really trying, and here we are. So I asked a question in the group, the tips and tricks group, of what would be some good topics for videos. And I've decided the first one I'm going to do is what to look for in your ambient exposure. I know this is a difficult one for people because you just don't know what to look for to get the proper exposure. So here is a rather large space, and it's not the most incredible outcome, but you know what? I think this is fine for real estate, and I was pleased with it because we're always dealing with time constraints and things like that. So we want to get in and out and get it done quickly. So I'm just going to start off right now, and I'm going to go to my ambient image. Now you may look at this ambient image and look at a histogram up here. It looks way overexposed. But I'm going to show you how, after a little bit of editing, and you can see it straight out of camera here, and my ambient exposure here is ISO 400. I am at 17 millimeters on a Canon tilt shift, and its aperture is 7.1, and I'm doing 1/6 of a stop. So now I just want to point this out, that this is a little overexposed for the ambient image. I don't want you to really look at the histogram, because a histogram could be misleading in an ambient image, because the camera's going to tell you what it thinks it needs, and it's going to read really overexposed. But what I'm looking for here mainly is exposure for this room over here, and I'll show you why in a second. I want exposure in this hallway, because in this hallway it was very dark, and it's very difficult to light this hallway. And this back room, which is very high, the ceilings in the back room are about 25 feet high, as in this front room it's 25 feet high. So I'm going to use this exposure, and basically all I'm going to do is I'm going to bring down the highlights. Okay, I'm going to try and show you what I can get, and I'm going to bring down the exposure just a little bit right about here. And this is the exposure that I want. And it's because, again, I want the exposure for this back room here. I'm not going to light this. I'm not going to light this hallway. I am going to light this back room, and I'm going to get a window pull. So I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about the exposure of the window. And I'm going to use the exposure for over here in this room, because I'm not going to light this room. But I am going to light this foyer right here. And I'm also going to really use the ambient for this doorway out here. So let's just get into it. I am now basically adjusted my ambient as I like. It is not apparently, I don't have any real color issues here. I did not change white balance. I'm using auto white balance. I'm using my Sony A7 III, my new A7 III, but it's basically just like my A6000 that I've been using. It's just a better quality and full frame, but the full frame doesn't have any effect here. So I'm just going to show you now what I'm going to use in my flash shot. So here is my flash shot straight out of camera. I put a light up on the second story, and I'm bouncing straight off the ceiling. You can't see it, but I am. I don't know what the power level is there, but I will say that my exposure information is the same ISO 400, the same aperture, because we don't change apertures when we're masking in and we're doing different layers that have to align. So we want to keep the same aperture, and I'm up here to 1/30th of a second. So I might have gone a higher shutter speed to kill more ambient if there were issues, but you know what, a 1/30th of a second is going to give me some crispness in here, and I'm getting a good light back there. And in that back room, I've got a light probably behind this post pointing at the ceiling, and it is giving me a good exposure back here. It's pretty good. And then I will be doing a window pull, but I'm not going to include the window pull in this tutorial. So basically, I'm just showing you now what I've got in the flash image. And basically right here in the flash image, all I'm going to do is give it my special sauce or my full bump right here. And I'm going to I'm looking at the histogram, it looks okay. I'm maybe going to lower the exposure down just a little bit right there. So what I want to now use the ambient exposure, as you can see here, I want to use the ambient exposure for this room over here, this doorway, this room over here, this door, and I'm going to use the ambient exposure right here in this hallway, and a little bit of the ambient exposure to kind of fix little issues in this room, but I'm not going to use much. So what I want everybody to do is just highlight the two images I'm going to use, and I want to go back and forth. So I'm looking here at an area that's going to need work, that's going to need exposure, and I'm going back to the ambient, and there we go. That's pretty good. Actually, I can lower the exposure just a little bit right there. So I'm now going to go back and forth, flash image, and I'm looking, and this exposure here is about right. So this is eventually what I want you to be looking for in the ambient image. Right over here, exposure, right over here, exposure, this hallway exposure, because you can see in the flash image, I've got issues here. It's dark, it's got some flash spill from the light in this back room. It's got highlights over here. So there's a lot of areas that I can use to help of the ambient image there. Okay, so it's always good to highlight both and go back and forth and examine your image before you commit to sending both images as layers into Photoshop. So I've got both highlighted, and I'm going to send it to Photoshop as layers. Now I have programmed my mouse where all I have to do is push the scroll wheel to the right, and it automatically is programmed to send my images as layers into Photoshop. But you could have also, you know what, actually I'm going to take this away. Let's go back into Lightroom. I'm just going to do it for all of you manually. So I'm going to right click on the image, edit in, open as layers in Photoshop. Haven't done a video in a while and I'm a little rusty, so give me a break. I'm taking this time to take a little last sip of my coffee, and wishing all of you a wonderful 4th of July here in America. And we have so many people from Europe, but 4th of July is one of our big holidays in the United States. And also want to say, please subscribe to this channel. Also, please use the Adorama link, which will be in the show notes, which helps me to make all these free videos for all you fine people. So I've got it opened up as layers in Photoshop, okay? And I'm going to highlight both of these layers right there. I'm just holding down Command on a Mac, and I'm going to click it. So I have both layers highlighted, and what I want to do now is to edit. Go into Edit. I want to auto-align layers. And I tell people now, always auto-align your layers, because inevitably you might get a little movement, and if they're not auto-aligned, you will have ghosting. So now I'm going to go click on the first top layer, which is the ambient layer. And because if I had both selected like I was for the auto-align, it wouldn't have worked well. So I have to just click the top layer. And what I'm doing is going down to here. Remember, I'm on kind, I'm not touching here. I'm on normal mode, opacity 100% here. Don't worry about up here. Don't worry about anything over here. I'm just going to now go down to here and create a new layer mask, add a layer mask, and I'm going to hold down the Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC, and that gives me a black layer mask here. Okay, and I have my layers, layer mask here ready to go. So I'm going to make sure I'm on my paintbrush, and I'm going to make sure that it's white for reveal. And that is going to basically, anything I mask in is going to reveal the ambient layer, which is underneath this flash layer. Okay, so I'm going to have my paintbrush selected, and I'm going to right click on the image and make sure I'm down to 0 hardness, because that's what I like. And I'm going to go up here and I'm going to do 6% flow. And I like 6% because it's nice and gradual and really mellow, and it just takes a little time to mask it in, but it's really going to be great after the fact. So I'm now going to increase the size of my brush by using my right bracket key, and I want to first deal with here. So I'm going to mask in the ambient down here, and as you can see, it's doing a great job. There we go. Okay. I'm going to mask it in over here. There we go. And mask it in behind the door. And there we go. That's nice and easy. Now I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I'm going to mask in the ambient here. Get rid of that flash spill over there. There we go. And it's important to make your paintbrush the size of the area that you're working on. Now I'm going to mask out that hot spot behind that column in that back room. I have a little bit of an issue right here of some kind of a spill, so I'm just going to mask in there. And a little ambient there is going to be nice. I'm going to do the archway right there. Okay, I got rid of that, and here, and there we go. And let's see here. Just going to give it a little bit of ambient in here. And I don't need much there. So there you go. I just wanted to do a full edit on this image here so you can really see what I'm getting. Now I'm also going to add a little bit of ambient up here because it looks a little flashy to me. There we go. That didn't do much. A little more ambient in here. And there we go. I'm not doing the window pull for you in this editing video because I'm not really focusing on window pull. But now I've got showing you, hopefully, let's go in here too. I've got a little bit of ambient in here. There we go. Okay. So pretty happy with that. And I want to say that if I did this real time, it would take me about a minute and a half to do this whole image. So I'm just going to close this out because I don't even need to save it. And I'm going to go back into Lightroom. And I'm just going to tell you that here's the final image I delivered. I fixed it up a little bit. I did my verticals and my distortion and everything. And so it's basically here. And there's the window pull I did. But again, I got a little bit of reflection here. So it's not perfect. But again, this is real estate photography, and I am really pumping out a lot of images in this listing. So I don't really go to my full extent. Okay, let's do the next one. I'm just going to show you what I'm looking for in an ambient, and I'm going to do a full edit on this one too, because I did another couple of tricks, which you can see. But right here is the final image. The only thing that bugs me is the reflection of the glass here. I could have slid this glass out of the way, which I probably should have done. But what this is really, there's a window in this bathroom. So that is not a reflection as the window. But if I had slid the door this way, I might have lost it. But you know what? I'm not too worried about it. But what I am worried about is, let's go now to the ambient. And this is straight out of camera. And this is the ambient I chose. And this one is 1/5 of a second. I'm at all the same settings, ISO 400, 17 millimeter, again with the tilt shift, 7.1 aperture. And I will be doing a video on what I want a tilt shift for. But right now, I just wanted to get the camera a little bit higher. So anyway, we're not really worrying about the composition in this image. We're just going to be dealing with what do we want in the ambient. So this is straight out of camera. What I want in the ambient is this exposure. Now it's showing you that the histogram looks a little dark. Let me raise it up a little bit. Watch the histogram as I raise the exposure. And I could keep it there. I'm just going to, you know what, I think right there is going to be the exposure I want. Okay, and I'm going to show you my flash image. Actually, I'll raise it up just a little bit more. There we go. And I don't really have any major color issues here, but I'm going to show you the flash image, which is here. I'm going to highlight it, and I'm going to go now to the flash image. And this flash image is now, I've got some issues here, obviously. And here, the reason I close this door is because if we see the ambient image, it's causing a highlight on this table, a real big flare from this bathroom. So if I close the door, it takes away that and it gives me a nice non-glary tabletop. But I'm going to want this door to be open to the bathroom. It's not a big deal. You could actually shoot it without it open, but I am going to use it with the door open, and I'm going to show you how I fix that. But I like the flash image here for I've got a good exposure here, and I'm just going to go down and do my full bump. Good, there we go. And I'm going to bring down the exposure just a tiny bit. There we go. And I think this is good flash exposure. But the issues I've got are these cabinets have shine on them, so I want the ambient for that. And the main thing we're doing here is we are identifying what we need in the ambient to bring into the flash shot to fix issues. So I have glare on the cabinets, so I have to make sure my ambient shot's good for that. I have to have exposure for this back pantryway, so I need to have the exposure of the ambient shot back there. I've got really bad flash issues here. I put a flash behind this wall, and not behind the wall, outside of the frame of the image. So I have a hotspot on the ceiling, so I'm going to need to use ambient for the ceiling. I'm going to need ambient underneath these cabinets, underneath here, and a little bit of ambient here, a little bit of ambient down here, and I'll just show you what I'm going to do. So now I'm looking at these flash, these shine reflections from the flash in the cabinets, and I'm going back to my ambient shot, and I'm looking at that going, oh, this is a little bit bright, so I'm going to bring it down a little bit. There we go. And I think that I've got it there. I've got good exposure in this hallway. I've got the ceiling I'm going to try and fix. And I've got one major issue here. The ambient shot is really not showing the right colors. So what I want to do is to do ambient yellow out, which is my preset, which is going to help a little bit. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a paintbrush and I'm going to use it in saturation. Okay? And I'm going to lower my saturation, and I'm just going to brush in this ceiling out here to lose a little bit of that yellow. Okay? Not much, but I just, it will help me. Let me take it out even more. Actually, I want to maybe bring it a little bit blue. Basically, I'm prepping my ambient shot to fit with my flash shot. Okay? So I'm going to look here. Here's the flash shot. And here's the ambient shot. Actually, I don't like it as much. I'm going to go back and add a little bit of the orange there. Okay. And a little bit of saturation back from what I masked out. So trust me, it'll fit when we mask it in. So I need a little bit of masking of exposure in here. And I hope this isn't too complicated for you, because it really isn't complicated. So here's what I'm looking for in my ambient shot. And the exposure, again, it's 1/5 of a second. So I always tell people a good place to start, excuse me, a good place to start is a 1/4 second for ambient shots. Now, it could go all the way up to a 50th of a second or slower. It depends on the room, but a 1/5 of a second usually gets me in the ballpark. Okay, so I've got these two. I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to edit in as layers in Photoshop. And I hope I didn't miss something. I hope you're not completely baffled at what I'm doing, because this one is a little bit complicated. So I now am just going to do the same thing. I'm going to auto-align my layers, highlight both layers, and I'm going to go into Edit, Auto-Align Layers, and Auto, and OK. So now I'm going to just click on the ambient layer. I'm going to create a layer mask by holding down Option, exactly the same as I did. And there's my flash shot. So the first thing I want to do is, I think I want to take care of my major issue is the ceiling. So I'm on all the same settings. I'm on 0 hardness, remember, and I'm on 6% flow. So I just want to go in here, and I'm going to make my paintbrush about the size of the ceiling. So I'm just going to mask in that ambient, and you can see here that it actually masks in pretty well. Okay, good. So now I want to deal with the cabinets. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I'm just going to go make this about the size of the cabinets, and I'm bringing the ambient in there, and you can see that helping there. And I'm going to take out this shadow down here from the flash shot. Okay, I'm going to go now to my cabinets back here. I'm going to bring a little exposure in here. And basically you can see that the ambient shot is really not causing any color issues because I fixed them in Photoshop and in Lightroom. I'm bringing this, I'm taking away that, and I'm taking away the shadow down here, and I've got the ambient shot there. And this is actually a weird little shadow from these lights here. This is a natural shadow, but I'm going to hit X and change this to black. I'm over here, my paintbrush. I hit X and it turns my paintbrush to paint back in. I'm just going to get rid of that there, I think. Nope, I apologize. I'm going to go backwards and not even deal with that. So I'm going to go now to X and paint back. I'm going to go here to this hallway. And I'm going to mask back in the hallway there. So instead of putting a light there, I've chosen to just mask in ambient. And I did that because from experience, it can be very difficult to light hallways like that, little pantries and things. So it was much faster and easier for me just to use ambient. Okay, now I've got a little bit of shadow from my flash. There we go. I'm going to bring that in, a little bit of ambient there. Okay, now let's get to the fun part. I'm going to just, the last thing I'm going to deal with is this tabletop, but I want to give it a little bit of ambient underneath this table. Here we go, on the carpet. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to do the fun thing. I'm going to completely mask back this hallway and the doorway, because remember, underneath it is, I close the door only to prevent the glare on the table. There's many ways to do it, but that's the way I chose. And I'm just going to completely mask this back in. And if I spill a little bit on the table, like you can see there, all I have to do is, after I mask it back in, I'm now going to go and hit X and paint back this table to get rid of that glare again. So I killed two birds with one stone. It was really easy. It's just maybe a little hard concept for you. So I do have slight color cast issues, like in here. Actually, this pantry again is a little bit color issues, and I can try something. Everybody asks me about luminosity mode. So here we are in normal mode. I'm just going to go and hit this here and go down to luminosity. And now I want you, before I click it, I want you to look at the work that I did while I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, click on luminosity. And you see luminosity gave me a really weird blue here for the I put in that ambient on the ceiling to take out that flash, the flash spill on the ceiling, and it made it blue. It also made this look funky. So I'm going to go back to normal mode, and I'm going to hit normal and look at the blue on the corner. And so I like using normal mode most times. So anyway, that's this shot, and I'm going to just move on. I know this one too is a little complicated, but I think you can grasp the concepts, and the next couple of ones are going to be much easier. So I'm just going to close this, as I don't even need to save it. Go back into Lightroom, and I'm going to click on the final image, and here's my final image. And I think this is more than good enough. Actually, I had more color cast issues up here. So actually, I could probably just, on my final image, do my paintbrush and take out a little bit of saturation and add a little, make it a little bit blue like there. And I'm just going to take that out there. A lot of things we could do. But you know what? It's okay. It's not a white ceiling. It's a brown ceiling. So I'm okay with that. I think it's a brown ceiling. Anyway, so let's go to the next one. And I'm going to go here, and I'm going to show you this image. And this is the same house, and this is the foyer entry for this shot right there. So I'm just going to show you how to edit this real quick. So I'm just going to take my ambient shot, and this is what this is all about. My ambient shot is right here, straight out of camera. Actually, let me make this straight out of camera. Okay, I'm going here. And what I want to do now is show you the flash shot. So basically, I had a flash right by camera just lighting this here. I had a flash in this room behind this, outside of the, behind the frame lines, but you can see that, so I need help with the ambient shot for here. I have a light, the same light in the foyer, but that's actually pretty good. A little bit flashy here, a little flashy here, a little flashy here. So what I need in my ambient image here is to first, I'm going to try and use my eyedropper tool. And again, here is 1/4 of a second. So I said that that's a really good ballpark to start. It is generally a rule what I use, a quarter image, if I'm going to pick an ambient shot. But honestly, I'm always tethered so I can see my shots very well in an iPad, and I can choose the right exposure. So let's now, the exposure I'm just going to do is I'm going to take the highlights out, and I'm going to, actually, let me go into here and do the ambient yellow out. There we go. That really helped. Let me show you before. It's much, wait, I'm sorry. Let me go to the ambient shot. Okay, and let me now do, that's before, and this is straight out of camera. And let's just do the ambient or yellow out. And I will have a tutorial for the ambient yellow out. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, I'm going to take that off. Here is before ambient yellow out, and here's ambient yellow out. So it's just a general preset to get me in the ballpark. Okay, so I'm going to now lower my exposure just a little bit, but remember, what am I exposing my exposure for? This wall here, underneath the chair, this room back in here, and that's pretty good. So here is my ambient shot, what I want. You can see the histogram's a little bit high here, and if you don't use a histogram or know about it, I recommend you do learn about it. I'm not going to teach it here. So my ambient yellow out will be a preset I will deal with later, but basically all it's doing is it is taking out the highlights. It is taking out some orange and yellow and blue, and that's basically what it does. And it adds a little clarity, I think, but I'm not sure. I don't want to get into that preset. But basically, I am prepping my ambient shot to go with my flash shot. And I'm going to highlight my flash shot and my ambient shot, and I'm going to look at my flash shot, and I'm going to see, is my ambient shot going to work? I think that's about what I'm looking for in my ambient shot. Okay? Maybe just to lower the exposure a little more. Okay, here we go. So I'm just going to go right-click and edit in as layers in Photoshop, and I'm going to go really quickly to show you again how I'm going to mask in the ambient, how preparing that ambient that way, I call it massaging the ambient, making it look like you want to use your flash shot, like you want to mask into your flash shot. So I'm going to auto-align layers again. I'm going to go into edit. I'm going to auto-align layers. Okay. And there we go. Real quick and easy. Okay, I'm going to make a layer mask just like before. And all I'm going to do now is go into paintbrush. I'm going to make sure I've got a white brush to paint in or reveal. So I'm just going to reveal first in that back room. I'm just going to bring in a little ambient with that ceiling there. Just made it look a little better. I'm going to bring a little ambient in here. The reason I have these curtains closed is because it was a terrible window. It had bad water damage. So that's one way to get rid of that problem. And then I'm just going to mask in here a little bit there, avoiding the lamp, which I lit for. I exposed for the exposure here. It's a little overexposed, but it's okay. I compromised a little bit. I'm just going to do a little bit of ambient here in this hallway. There we go. A little bit of ambient to take away that flashiness right there. A little bit there. And there you have it. And that's about it. And that's it, man. That's so easy to do. Okay, I'm going to close this out and do a couple more for you. Okay, and I'm going to now look at my other one. I'm going to go, here's another shot. Here's the final image, and here is the ambient shot. Okay, so this ambient shot is 1/20th of a second. So it shows you that sometimes you need a faster exposure because you are photographing a brighter room. Okay, so I'm using that exposure, and here's my flash exposure. So I am now going to do the flash exposure is 1/200th. So I'm exposing for this window. I have a flash over here. I have a flash by camera. You can't see. I have some issues here. So the areas I'm going to need to massage my ambient image are make sure I can mask in the cabinets to take out the glare. I have shadows here. I have a little bit of hot spot here. I have a hot spot on the ceiling. I have light fixture shadows here. So I'm just going to now look at my ambient shot, and I am straight out of camera here, and I don't even need to do much with this. I'm just going to lower my highlights, and I'm good with this. And you're looking at the histograms a little high right here. I'm going to lower it down so the histogram's in the middle, but right about here. But I want a little more exposure here. Okay, real quick, I'm going to right click, edit in, open as layers in Photoshop, go real quick for you, get through these. They're exactly the same way, same editing process. I am now going to, when it comes in, highlight, align layers, okay, click it. I'm just going to create a layer mask. I'm now just going to take it and I am going to mask out that, mask out those issues, those the fan, the light shadows. I'm now going to take care of all of my cabinet work. Okay, I still have a little bit of window bloom up there. I'm going to hit X and make it reveal. So I want to make sure that I don't have any of that bloom on this cabinet. But there's not a whole lot I can do right there. Okay, there we go. I'm going to go back to masking in and a little bit of ambient here. There we go, down there. Bam, bam, bam. Okay, and I've taken away a little bit of my, I'm going to do a little bit of ambient back in here. Let me move back in there to get rid of, you can see the flash directions in the wrong direction. So I'm just going to mask in some ambient there. Okay. And you know what? This is really far in the background. You don't have to worry too much about this. Now I'm going to make sure I'm going to go hit X and I'm going to paint back the flash in case I think I've spilled over. So I've got that exposure and that's okay. So there we go. Whoops. Done deal. Really quick, down and dirty. Okay. Don't save. Go into one more. Okay, so here is, let's see here. I might have used these in other videos, so I don't want to go over an image that I've already done. So I'm going to do one more here. Let's take this one. This is an interesting one. Okay, here's the final image, and here is the flash image right here. Let me see here. Oops, nope. Here it is. You know what? I'm going to not do this one because it's a little, it's not working for me. So I'm going to go to this image. Okay, so I have, this is the final image, and I am using a 19 tilt shift again. That's why I can get up high. I wanted to see over this countertop. I'm got a little bit too high on there, but I want to see back there, and you can see going up higher, I can see, look down and see all this down here. And that really is important to me. So let's look at the flash image first. I have a flash by camera. I didn't light this hallway. I didn't light it back here. I didn't light it in here. So I'm going to let the ambient do all the heavy lifting. But I have some issues. I have a flash reflection there. It's very flashy here. I need to illuminate this hallway, illuminate this hallway. So what am I going to use? I'm going to highlight now my ambient image. Now let's go back to the ambient image here. I'm going to show you for the first time. Here it is. The histogram is pretty true here. This is what I want. I'm mainly looking at exposure in this hallway, exposure here, exposure for the cabinets, exposure outside, and you'll see really easily that this is going to, oh, you know what? Let me make it straight out of camera. So, okay, I have a few issues with the ambient shot I got to make. I apologize. Let's go backwards. First thing I'm going to do is hit my white balance eyedropper, and I'm going to find something that is white, and I'm going to try it down. I think I tried it down here on this molding here I know is white, and then it made it very blue, So I'm going to just bring it back a little bit orange, and there you go. The eyedropper tool really, really helped. Look at this. There's the original shot, and all I did was, because these tungsten lights are just killing the color cast, all I did was use the eyedropper tool on this white part down here. You could use gray or white, and it fixed it up. It snapped it into the right color really quick. I'm going to do it one more time. Let me show you here. I can take this, and let's try these chairs. This might work. Neutral color. Oh, the chairs work really well too. So I'm going to now go back and forth, the flash image, and here. And this is a little bit yellow, so I'm going to try it again over here. I think the white balance was a little better there, and I'm going to bring up the red there. And that's pretty good. I'm okay with that. So that's what I'm looking for in my ambient shot to match into my flash shot. So let's really quickly, let's do that. And the flash shot, just so you want to know, I'm doing 1/100th of a second. I want it to expose for the brightest thing, which is this light, and that's 1/100th. I've got a flash by camera, and that's about, you know what, I think I had a flash to the right also. I had two flashes here. And I've got some issues. I've got some shadows here on the ceiling. I need the illumination. I need to fix this down here, fix this, illuminate this, get rid of that. And I'm just good at identifying what I need. So that's the key. So let's just right click it, edit in, boom, open as layers in Photoshop. And I'm going to highlight both layers when it opens. And again, I want you to please subscribe and to use my Adorama link. It helps me make all these free videos. So here we go. I'm going to highlight both of the images. And I'm going to now auto align really quick. Bam. It's pretty quick to do, and it's worthwhile doing. I'm highlighting the ambient image now, and I'm going to create a layer mask. Now I'm just going to take the first thing I want to do, and I want to make sure my paintbrush, I'm going to hit X. It's on white, and everything's the same. I haven't changed anything here. So let's go in and bring some ambient into here. There we go. Little ambient into the ceiling. I'm going to avoid hitting these lamps because I don't want to bring in the ambient that's overexposed. A little bit there. A little bit there, a little bit for outside the window. There we go. A little bit in here, avoiding these. There we go. It's not perfect, but you know what? When you do let the ambient do the heavy lifting, you're really doing it because it's faster than putting a light back there. It's really easy, okay? I mean, let the ambient do the heavy lifting. It's not perfect, but for real estate, and real estate is what I'm teaching. You know, I could do a different video series for my design photography because I would have lit that for design because it's just not crisp enough back there, but it's okay in my opinion for real estate. Now let's just get rid of some of this glare on the cabinet, and right there, bam. If that's not the quickest and easiest thing, I don't know what is. These lights up here above are from lights inset into the top of this cabinet, so I don't mind that. I've got it there looking good. And I'm going to bring in a little bit of ambient here, make it big up here. There we go. And that's just helping make it look a little less flashy. And there we go. I'm going to add a little bit of ambient there on the ceiling here. And there we go. Okay, so I'm going to show you what the flash image looked like before, okay? And adding in a little ambient, before, after. Remember, fixing that shine right there was so easy because I had the ambient exposure. So now I'm just going to bring this back into Lightroom. It's my last image I'm going to do in this tutorial. And I want to look at it, and I'm going to do my final prep on this image. And all I'm going to do is add a little bit of dehaze. Actually, I'm going to do my final bump. There it is, final bump, which adds a little bit of, just a little bit of white. It takes out a little bit of the black, or it brings the black into the negative. A little bit of exposure up. And I think dehaze, no, I didn't use any dehaze. So I think that my my final bump is good. And you can find these tutorial I have tutorials on my full bump, and I don't know if I have one for my final bump, but I'll do a new one. All my presets for ambient, yellow out, final bump, full bump, you name it. Well, anyway, this is Rich Baum, Sacramento, California, saying, listen, I so appreciate all the messages I get, and you guys are the best. And I get people from all over the world sending me messages saying thank you, and I want to thank you. And again, I want you to subscribe to my channel. Watch out, I've got another workshop coming up in California, October 16th and 17th, 2018, limited to 10 subscribers. I mean, for 10 attendees, and that is going to be that is being released today, July 6th. So if you want to do the workshop, go to my workshop. You can just find it at richbaum.wixsite.com workshops/workshops. So anyway, I will have some information on that. Feel free to send me messages, and no phone calls, please, because I get really busy. But here you go. And again, use that Adorama link. It really makes a difference. I so appreciate it. Rich Baum, Sacramento, California, saying have a great day. Shoot better, shoot smarter, get better jobs, better clients, and then you can get better money and go spend time with your family. Enjoy yourself. Okay, talk to you later. Bye.